right, what's up, Pierre? Back at it again. We just finished day 2 of Mike Mendel's Architecture of Hypnosis class today. Wanted to go over what we talked about and fun experiences we had and everything. Day 2 learnings. We touched on Logical Levels by Robert Dilts. That's the one I really like, where it goes environment, behavior, capabilities, beliefs, identities or I am statements, and mission or spiritual value, why you're here on this earth. I really like that one. I remember that from the podcast. I took notes on it in my phone. One thing that's impactful to talk about at the end of a session is what's next. And you ask your client that at the end of a session. I was able to ask Chris Thompson about if he'd heard of Seth Godin and Alex Hormozy, and he has, and he's read both of them. I was like nerding out on the business stuff and picking his brain on that. That was super interesting. He told me that they basically do the class twice a year, and it takes a lot out of them, and it's like basically fun to get a lot of people together, and their real income earning is the Mike Mendel Hypnosis Academy, because it's like you record the video once and it's super scalable because you record it once and then you can constantly sell it. I thought that was fascinating. I asked Mike if he'd met Tony Robbins, and he said no, he had not. He'd seen him perform live, but he's never met him in person, which I thought was interesting. I didn't ask him about Spiegel and the Reverie app. I'll ask him that next time. Another question I had was, when do you apply stories and metaphors, whether it's in trance or conversation? And the answer is in conversation. You use metaphors in conversation, and they act almost as a hypnotic form. By telling your metaphor and your story, you're drawing them into a trance-like state, talking about it. And you can go deeper and deeper with like nesting doll metaphors, and I'll cover that later. But bot TLDR is you do metaphors when they're not in trance, but when you're just having a conversation. And delineating between using I stories, fantasies, or historical stories for metaphors, it's really subjective and based on, kind of rule of thumb, like, oh, this kid loves knights and armors and fantasy. This metaphor would apply better to them. This guy's a big history buff like Popo Gary. This metaphor would apply better to him, or a great personal story that would just be really perfect metaphor to drive it home. There's general metaphors. It's a story that you can tell anyone, have like 5 of them memorized and in the back of your pocket. I like the one of the old lumberjack and the young woodsman. And then 2 other ones that Mike said that he likes to keep in his back pocket are the Leanna Vine and I changed it to B2317 for 2317 Allen Avenue. Isomorphic metaphors are a specific story told for a specific problem. It has a 1-to-1 relationship. One thing that I caught myself, I was able to, yay me, pat on the back, I was able to present our story and our metaphor for a child bedwetting, and I used the metaphor of talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Intimidator, making stops for pit stops with his race car, and the importance of that, and him getting in the zone of driving in the race, and then how it's important to make a pit stop, and he ended up getting to first place at the end. And that was to be used as a 1-to-1 isomorphic metaphor for a 9-year-old who has difficulty with bedwetting and he has no physiological problems wrong with him. We talked about nesting loops. So that's where you open up a loop and finish it 51% to 80% of the way through a story. So like Mike's on the train here in Australia, and then B here, he talks about cutting into the onion and the food on the train. Then he talks about something else, and then he goes to Ayers Rock, and the direct suggestion is, it was something like you can cause change or something like that. And then you close up that loop, you close up that loop, you close up that loop, you close up that loop. And then you can do an X loop where it's like, and then she locked the cellar door and never looked back. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You never mentioned a cellar door at the beginning of all these stories, but it's just a to kind of throw your brain off the scent of what you incepted or implanted down here in the direct suggestion. Ideas for a nesting doll, loop doll, is something about going to my trip to New Zealand. And on that trip, I saw all these different sites, Hobbiton, Milford Sound, all that, and then and I began hitchhiking for the other half of it. And I met you meet all sorts of crazy characters hitchhiking, from a RV driver to a German mom to a psychedelic blues artist named David. Now David was really interesting. He would play all sorts of music, Hendrix, Grateful Dead, all under the sun, And he looks over to me and says, you can choose to play whatever you want to play. Something like that. And then zip it up and close it up. So that's just a little testing with that. Then for food today, did really great. I did 2,100 calories, and that's with a glass of wine. I had 3 meals of my Power Protein oatmeal, one for breakfast, one for like lunch, and one for like 3 o'clock. And I really wasn't hungry getting together with everybody, which was nice. I was going to go to downtown Toronto and explore the sites, but I was like, I saw Mike and Chris sitting down at the bar hanging out. I was like, I kind of would, fuck it, let's see. So I got over my pride and went back in and hung out, and like all the class people were there. We hung out till literally 9:30. So like from basically 4:30 to 9:30. So 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 9, 5 hours. It was super cool. Hung out with, the guy from Slovakia who's a yoga teacher and hypnotherapist. Also hung out with the Canadian lady Jen, who used to own a fish shop, and now she sold it 2 years ago, and she was super nice. And she lives an hour north of Toronto. And then we also hung out. Andreas was right next to me. We didn't talk a lot, but we hung out before. I met Nigel, who's from the UK, hour north of London, and he did crouching tiger mirroring hands with me, which was cool. Like all the negative emotions in the left hand descending down, 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 letting it way down. And then all the positive resources in your right hand, which I thought was super helpful. And then getting to talk to Timothy September and his brain baby with Chris Thompson is Pythos, and also his course that he's trying to sell, which is conversational loops, which is super interesting. I was picking his brain on Pythos, trying to drive down. Thank God I did 7th level Jeremy Minor training, because it's like I have some level of sales detection and like resistance. Like, yeah, this course might be a good investment, but like I'm already kind of in the hole and need some more money. So it's like, I'm not going to jump into this. I was like, thank you, Jeremy Minor. $8,000 is paying for itself in some ways, I guess. But yeah, today was super fun. Nana's not doing well medically. I prayed a rosary for her on the drive back. Another huge thing is I can drive my car and get parking taken care of. And I found out I can park behind the hotel, and it looks like the gate doesn't go up and down, but I entered my license plate in, so I should be good. So that'll save money on bus commuting and day parking at the Green Pea lot, because now I can just drive there, have free parking. And if I want to go downtown after that, I can just catch a bus from the hotel to downtown, which is nice. It's only $5 a night now for Green Pea parking. So yeah, today was an awesome day. And today is, I think it's Tuesday. So that's really cool. Other great things that we did today that were super fun. Guy from Hong Kong, Edwin, told a story about stealing his parents' car and wrecking it into a building and leaving. And that was super funny. And, oh, we did another induction. We did the going in for the handshake and grabbing it and looking at your hand, and then you focus on the lines in here and you push it in, and then your eyes will close and you fall asleep standing. That was really freaking cool. I like that one a lot. So yeah, induction roundup. We've done arm on the invisible shelf, breathing in, breathing out, handshake pattern interrupt. And then we also did kinesthetic ambiguity. Yeah, and I want to learn about the Esdale state and how I can apply that to anesthesia. So I'm really going to be dialed into that. So yeah, I got a lot out of the crouching tiger mirroring hands thing. That was freaking cool. I want to practice mindscaping too. So day 2 in the books, and it's already awesome. I'm having a great time. So Pierre, keep up the great work. I'm really proud of you. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Good night.